this is the sound check checking in on the latest hip-hop headlines. That was Wu-Tang Clan's Triumph, produced by the legendary producer RZA. Today we will be reviewing the long-awaited Macklemore and Ryan Lewis album, This Unruly Mess I've Made. Coming into this album, I wasn't expecting or wanting much from Macklemore's side, but I was very interested in what Ryan Lewis's production was going to end up sounding like. Over the last few years, people have been giving shit to Macklemore off of his best rap album win over Kendrick's Good Kid, Mad City. This, like Kanye's album, was originally intended to be slated in 2015, but I respect artists that take time in their craft rather than rushing their projects.
Yeah, I agree with that. I do like when they take their time as well. Our first single that we get from Macklemore is Downtown. When it first came out, I really wasn't digging it at all. The best part about it was when it was on the Bose commercial with Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
That was pretty funny. I like that. But other than that, I wasn't down with the song.
Yeah, I first heard that song on the Bose commercial. I was wondering where that snippet came from because I didn't recognize it off of the heist, so that's how I was first introduced to Downtown.
After Downtown, we get the complete other end of the spectrum with White Privilege 2. It was a really meaningful, hard-hitting topic of Black Lives Matter, and it really opened the eyes of a lot of what Macklemore can do. It was the big push into this album, wanting to listen and hear what he has to say. This album kicks off with a really good start with the song called Light Tunnels. It tells the story of how he won the Rap Album of the Year. It has a couple descriptions of him like sitting near Jay-Z and Beyonce, as well as him even walking up onto stage. I feel like the meaning behind the title, This Unruly Mess I Made, is because of when he won this award over the album Good Kid, Mad City. And once this happened, the world pretty much blew up because everyone believed that Kendrick should have won, hands down.
I was one of those that believed that Kendrick should have won easily. I was hyping this up to where Kendrick would win his first major Grammy. At the time, I was really mad, but ever since then, I've kind of thought about it and I've put it back behind me. But whenever he relives this moment in the song, I get a little bit woozy every time I think about that moment, to be honest.
Ever since then, he was kind of put into this category of untalented white artists that robbed awards from other people that deserve it more. I don't know, it's kind of your opinion on this more than a real fact. But Macklemore kind of realizes this in this song, saying that he thought he'd feel better after the award show was over. Meaning, he thought because he won this, people would give him more props and respect him more. When it really kind of shot him down into an abyss where he's been trying to crawl himself out of ever since. I do like this track. It's one of my favorites on it and just really starts it off solid.
Yeah, I think this track is pretty good. It has a good start to the album. And it also has a very solid appearance from Mike Slop. It has really nice horns towards the end of the song. And it sounds like Macklemore is preaching against the media in some parts of the song, which he's done in previous efforts, but this he gets really into. This is an interesting start to the album. Macklemore touches on what has happened to him up to this point in his life. And I'm really interested to see where he goes on from here. Next in the track listing comes Downtown, and in my opinion, this is one of the strongest points on the album. The features remind me of the greatest hip-hop concert ever in the 80s with Melly Mel, Grandmaster Caz, and Kool Moe Dee stopping by on this song. It has a really nice bass riff throughout the song. It's very strong.
Yeah, it kind of gives you that funky vibe with the good beat and kind of makes you move a little.
Yeah, we want the funk. But although the subject matter is on the dumber side, it reminds me of like a thrift shop too. But I still think the song has fantastic instruments and sounds, and it has a really cool vibe to it.
Yeah, I'm with you on that part of the subject matter being really dumb because it is literally about him buying a moped and going downtown in it.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty stupid. I don't know. You can say that. I could say that. But overall, I think the chorus isn't fantastic. It's just one of his mainstream radio songs that he put onto this album. Kind of get himself out there, promote the album a little bit more.
Okay.
Next, we get Brad Pitt's Cousin. This is just All right, to start off, we get the interesting beat. I do like the beat. Ryan Lewis's part of this song kind of gives it a little bit of a ability to listen to because the lyrics are just weird. They're really weird.
Yeah, I don't know where he was going on this song. This is one of the few songs of the album that has more of a Lonely Island vibe and feel to it, rather than Macklemore taking advantage of his popularity and where he's at now in his career. I just feel like this is one of the worst songs on the album.
Some of those weird lyrics, like talking about his cat is more famous than people. But one of the funny lines on it is when he says, "Shout out to my homie D."
Who's D?
These nuts! Back to the track listing.
Comes Buckshot. This is one of the highlights on this project with an awesome appearance from the great KRS-One, which I was a little surprised seeing at first. But after a little bit of thought going into it, I feel that Macklemore was trying to get back at his haters for saying that, he's just a pop rapper. But he's saying that he does have his hip-hop knowledge in the back of his mind, bringing up the awesome KRS-One. So I feel that's what he was trying to go for on this song.
I think this also comes into play with the beat, because when I first heard it, it rang a bell of the song New York State of Mind by Nas, and I think this came into play with the DJ Premier production mix-up.
I felt that the heavy sampling brings the song home, and the song also sounds like a mashup of Nas's New York State of Mind, like you touched on, and it also has a Mad Villains all-cap vibe to it, production-wise.
Yeah, so the lyrics I really like. I think they're just ripping lines about hip-hop culture, riding around with the loud music playing, graffiti. I also really like the line, "They hella mad, say my art is really bad for business, but I'ma paint a better world until these cans are empty." I think that's really a hitting point on this song. Next is Growing Up. That's the song that only comes on the album. It's a sweet song about his daughter, and
it also talks about the hopes and fears of being a father, like Chance the Rapper does a few songs later in the album, and he also gives advice to his daughter throughout the song. It has a powerful chorus by Ed Sheeran, which I wasn't really expecting, but he really took his advantage being on this album. This is a good song, and in this solid stretch of songs, I should also say. Next comes Kevin, and this is a tribute to Macklemore's late friend Kevin, who overdosed on prescription drugs in 2010. It's not the best production compared to others, but it isn't terrible. And I respect the song due to Macklemore protesting against America's overprescription drug problems.
Yeah, it's a really sad song about his friend dying of the problem. He talks about the struggle of pill addiction, also his, because he also had a problem with this in relapse not too long ago. I would also like to add that this is also one of my favorite tracks on the album. It can be very eye-popping for society as well.
I felt that the song, production-wise, had very nice strings to close it out, which I felt was very powerful. I really enjoyed that piece on the song.
After that, we get the song St. Ides. It's really not much, to be honest. In my opinion, it's kind of there and gone. Other than the sad tone of the song, it didn't do much at all for me.
This wasn't an awful song, but it could easily be forgettable. Macklemore touches on subjects like his family and also talks about the non-commercial greatness of life. The production has a nice piano appearance to close out the song, which was somewhat soothing to me, but other than that, the song was really just average altogether.
Yeah, it was kind of just a relaxing song.
On to the next song comes Need to Know, and it is a very nice song to close out this soothing stretch of songs in the middle of the album. Macklemore brings up another big issue. This time it's on oxycodone used by America's youth. Chance the Rapper stops by and pulls out a killer verse as he talks about his fears of being a father and also touches on the struggles of living in a country that objectifies women.
It's pretty much the song about the realities of today. They talk about the truth in the song. The recreational drug use and also fashion nowadays. Nothing really special about it, though. I don't think there was anything for me, just in my opinion, that I would go back to the song and listen to over and over again. But it's a decent song.
Yeah, I agree with you about listening to it over and over again. But this is one of the best songs of the album, in my opinion, hands down.
Dance Off is the club song that we get from Macklemore. I think it's just something he wanted to put out for fun and just to liven the mood from a couple of the downer songs that we got before. I do like the downer songs, which is kind of why this dumb song, or fun, I guess, kind of leads me to an alley where I don't want to be in.
Yeah, this is one of the weirdest moments on the album, and it has an interesting appearance from the awesome Idris Elba, but I'm not sure how Macklemore got him to get on this song, though.
The song is definitely an attention grabber, and I guess that was probably the job of this song. I do like Anderson .Paak, though. His quick part in it, he sounds pretty good. I think he fits pretty well with the upbeat song as well. It's just a strange song.
Yeah, this and the song after this are two other songs that sound like they belong in a Lonely Island album instead of a hip-hop album that should be taken a little bit more seriously.
Yeah.
But like you said, Anderson .Paak's brief appearance fits well with this production, I felt.
Mm-hmm.
And although this song cannot be taken seriously at all, I do dig it a little bit.
It's just something fun, I guess. Like I said, to liven the mood. I've been kind of depressed throughout this album.
After the enjoyable dance-off comes Let's Eat.
Oh, yeah.
And this is probably one of, if not the worst song on the album.
It's a hard topic to make good. Rap about eating.
Now, that's one of the worst themes I've heard in a while. I can see where he was, I guess, trying to go with this overall concept, but that it just has some of the worst lines I've heard in a while from a rapper.
My thought on this was kind of, last album he went for the gay society with Same Love, uplifting them, and now maybe he was going for the more obese side of society in America and making them feel better about themselves, but it just didn't come out the same way. Same Love really hit it to people. I do like the pretty funny verse about Hugh Jackman and the whole Batman situation. That was pretty funny. I did like that. That's probably the only part of this song that I actually enjoyed.
Yeah, I just can't believe I had to listen to this song multiple times.
So after that, we get a little bit of relief with Bolo Tie.
Mm-hmm.
It's got that interesting beat from Ryan Lewis. Macklemore's verse really had no effect. It was kind of there and gone. I think he didn't really have much else to say because he kind of covered it all.
Although it's just playing the record over and over again with what he has to say, this has one of the hardest hooks I've ever heard Macklemore spit before on a song.
You think?
Yeah, I thought so whenever I've heard it for the first few times. On the subject matter, it talks about the media, outsiders, and even other rappers trying to fabricate their subject material.
Yeah.
Which I thought fit well with YG's appearance because he's very hard. From Bompton, you know, he is really such a terrifying figure in the rap game compared to others.
Yeah.
And YG takes his opportunity to talk about how the media and the general public paint him as a villain and that it doesn't talk about his good deeds at all.
Yeah, he even says, the next time my name is in the press, talk about how YG gave them kids Christmas. That's kind of a hard-hitting point, I would have to say.
Yeah, all of this makes into a fantastic song on this project.
Yeah, I really like this one as well.
After the hard-hitting Bolo Tie comes The Train. And like St. Ives, I feel like this is a forgettable song on this whole album. It touches on detachment and departure, which are pretty emotional subjects to touch on.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like he did touch on those subjects well, but I just couldn't get through this boring track.
Yeah, it's really slow and just a huge metaphor for moving on. And I think that's what we should do with this song. Let's just go to the next one, White Privilege 2. Like I said before, this is the second single that Macklemore dropped before this album. And with this came a lot of mixed emotions. There were a lot of people that believe this is the kind of topic that Macklemore did not complete all of the way. And then other people like me believe that this is a great representation of how the white society takes on the intense topic of Black Lives Matter.
Yeah, I wasn't the biggest fan of the song's intention and themes beforehand, but it grew on me after a few more listens. This is one of the most important subjects on the album, and he takes
Yeah.
advantage of it by making a standout track.
He really paints a really good picture of a white person supporting, like I said before, the Black Lives Matter protest. And it's very interesting. It kind of shows the struggle of a white person wanting to help this issue that doesn't directly affect them at all.
And it also has Macklemore making strong points on what he's doing himself for Black Lives Matter and what other whites should do on this issue as well.
Yeah, he even says, "Is this about you? Well, then what is your intention?" That's one of the biggest lyrics that stands out to me the most. Just kind of makes you really think about this issue that is existing, but how are you supposed to help?
That's very long, so you have to commit, but it also has very strong production throughout this epic song.
He takes the challenge face to face and really goes at it pretty hard, and it's a really heartwarming song.
Yeah, I'm also glad that Jamila Woods got to close out this song. Most people would recognize her voice off of the Sunday Candy chorus, and her voice resonates after this album ends.
Oh yeah, the ending was booming.
Yeah, strong themes, important appearances make up for a very good song to close out this album.
As a whole, this album is very interesting. It has both sides, one being the fun and very uplifting songs like Dance Off and Brad Pitt's Cousin, as well as the very intense ones like White Privilege 2 and Kevin. I was more a fan of the songs that dealt with the real life issues like Kevin, White Privilege, and Light Tunnels at the very beginning, other than the playful songs. I feel like these topics were hit right on the nail and he really got his point across. His storytelling on the album was phenomenal. I think he's one of the best in the rap game right now that can really tell a story picture perfect. Even the bad songs I thought were told decently. Ryan Lewis is a great young producer, and I thought the production was very creative. Also, he got a little help from the DJ Premier sampling from the KRS-One and Buckshot. The features on here were great too. In some songs, I thought the featured artists were even better than Macklemore, like YG and Bolo Tie. I give this album a C+. What about you, Connor?
Wow, a C+. Wasn't expecting that.
Kind of high, but...
But I think of this album as a whole sums up to one word for me. Average. This is an average album. Nothing terrible, nothing amazing. But it's definitely a middle-of-the-road project. I was very interested with how Macklemore was going to approach up to this project especially after the release of White Privilege 2. But what I got was what I expected, which was a decent album. I don't really ask much of Mac, but I'm really pleased with Ryan Lewis's production on this project. My favorite songs in the album are Need to Know, Buckshot, and Bolo Tie. I thought those three hit very hard compared to the others, and in my eyes were standout tracks. The three lackluster songs in the album, on the other hand, in my opinion, were Let's Eat, Brad Pitt's Cousin, and Dance Off. Although I enjoyed listening to Dance Off, I feel that song is just completely pointless and has no value compared to the rest of the album. In the end, I'm feeling a decent D on this one.
Alright, two different opinions on this album. That's always good, though. Well, that will conclude our review on the Unruly Mess I've Made. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at TheSCheck and email us any hip-hop questions you might have. What are you listening to?
Should we review it?
Send us your opinions on new ideas for the show to our official email, thesoundcheck2015@gmail.com. Thanks for tuning into the Soundcheck, and we officially sound off.